Welcome to part 3 of Let's Play Battleblade Warrior by Marc Gascoigne. At the end of the last part, I was about to read paragraph 155. Here we go. You trek onwards, expecting to feel the sting of blowpipe darts with every step, as the ground rises into the foothills of the Lion Heights. By mid-afternoon, the ground is rising steadily, and the climb is getting steeper. You stop to eat some provisions in the shade of a large thorn bush. Okay. Let's make a note of that. So we've lost some provisions, but we've gained 4 stamina. There we go. As you are sitting munching a large sweet fruit, you hear a heavy flapping of wings. Test your luck. If you are lucky, turn to 186. If you are unlucky, turn to 99. Okay, our luck is currently 12, so let's put it down to 11 now, and then we'll do the luck test. Okay, so we need this dice roll to be 12 or lower, which it's guaranteed to be. So it was, but we've lost a luck point, which I've already done. Anyway, so we were lucky. So we're turning to 186. Even though we did get a 12, which is unusual, but that's still less than or equal to 12, so we were still lucky. Anyway, 186. You leap into the cover of the trees as a huge pterodactyl bearing a lizard man pilot swoops low overhead. If you have your father's bow and arrows, you may attempt a shot, turn to 318. Otherwise, you can only watch the beast fly off into the distance before moving on. Turn to 164. Okay, we're not going to attempt a shot. We're going to watch the beast fly off into the distance and move on. And turn to 164, which is here. There must be a force of lizard men nearby, you decide, but surely they can't know that you are in the area. You hurry onwards, climbing higher up into the hills. The day begins to wane and you are still climbing. The trees are getting sparser and the climb is getting harder. Evening comes, but you press on, certain that you are close to your goal. You come to a rocky escarpment and start to ascend it. All at once a tremendous howling roar comes from above you. You look up in panic and see an immense golden tiger dancing in the air above you. Something in the back of your mind tells you that it is an illusion, but your imagination tells you that it is real and very, very terrifying. Do you remember the stories of the panther gods of the jungle tribes? Roll 2 dice. If you roll less than or equal to your skill score, you defeat your fear, turn to 239. If you roll more than your skill score, deduct 1 stamina point and test again and again until you succeed or are literally scared to death. Okay, our skill is currently 12, so we need this dice roll to be less than or equal to 12. Which it's guaranteed to be. So we don't lose a stamina point, and we're turning to 239 because we've defeated our fear. So 239, and there's the golden tiger. Okay. You pull yourself over the edge of the escarpment to find yourself staring into the lively eyes of a wizened old man. You flinch back as he pushes his staff towards you, then grin and use it to pull yourself up. Lascar, you ask? The same. Welcome. I have been expecting you. The man is very old and looks shabby, but sprightly and quick-witted. He leads you up the rocky hillside to a large and very cosy cavern. Over a tasty rock rabbit stew, he tells you how he knows of you. My, or should I say our master, came to me in a vision 3 nights ago, though he is hard-pressed, and bade me aid you in your quest. This I willingly do. In the morning we have much In the morning we have much to do, so for now you should take as much rest as you can. He refuses to answer any questions tonight and commands you to sleep. Eventually you give in and do so. Turn to 236. Which is here, that's convenient. During the night you wake and for a moment wonder where you are. In the dull glow of the dying fire you can see Lascar crouched cross-legged, muttering and swaying. You can't hear any words, but it looks as though he is praying. You lie back and slip once more into sleep. Turn to 190. In the morning, Lascar... I'll start again. In the morning, Lascar asks you to follow him from the cavern, making no mention of last night's activities. You climb high up into the hills until suddenly the old man stops and points down over the edge of a vast ravine. You look to where his arm indicates and find yourself staring at an entire city which lies across the floor of the ravine. Carmex, city of warrior kings, now accursed, he says. I've spent all my life in studying its secrets, but there have always been places that have defeated me. Down there in the depths of the royal palace are the deathless ones, the warriors who will sleep no more. I am too old for combat, but you, well, I think you will be safe. Down there somewhere, the legends have always said, are the arm and the eyes of Telak, the great hope from your dreams. I am certain that the arm is a huge bejeweled sword, but I do not know what form the eyes take. When you are ready, we will descend to the upper levels. You will enter there and do what you have to do. I will climb up and meet you at the temple high on the far wall. He indicates it with a bony finger. There is a stair which leads up to it from behind the main chapel to Telak, I believe. Now, says Lascar, turning to go, let us see what you will need. Turn to 48. Okay, there he is. Okay, 48. Lascar finds all kinds of equipment for you. Choose what you do not already have from the following list and write it on your adventure sheet. A sword, a lantern, plus supply of oil and some flints to light it, and some flints with which to light it. Okay, so we have that. Lantern and rope. Just the lantern, lantern and flint, lantern with oil and flints, whatever, I don't know. What else is there? A length of rope. I did notice the provisions are back up to 4 again, so we also have some rope. There we go. Okay, so that's that. And some. I'll just start again. A sword, a lantern, plus supply of oil and some flints with which to light it. A length of rope and 4 provisions. Okay, so we've done all that. Fully equipped, you allow Lascar to lead you back to the ravine. Rather than climbing to the edge, though, he takes you by a wide sloping path down the side of the huge cut. The going is hard, and before long the track is so steep and rocky that you must rope yourselves together. Eventually you reach the base of the ravine and stand looking out across the ruined city with its once beautiful buildings now lying at strange angles, twisted and cracked by their fall. Lascar leads you through the city, bringing you to where a huge depression leads down into the earth. The roof of a covered courtyard has fallen in, and several dark and forbidding passages lead off it. Lascar points one out. That one leads down to another courtyard from where you will find passages leading to the crypts, the royal palace and chief temple. I have not been further than the courtyard. You embrace the old man and he departs to climb up to the temple on the north side of the ravine and await your successful emergence from the underground complex. Will you descend into the darkness, turn to 289, or pause a while, turn to 367? Yeah, that picture is for paragraph 47. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to descend into the darkness and turn to 289. Here we are. Immediately it is very cool and very dark. You light your lantern and peer about you. The passage is decorated with rows of statues now toppled and smashed. The floor beneath your feet may once have been a flight of steps worn smooth to a shallow slope which climbs down into another covered courtyard. From here lead off 2 passages, both dark and uninviting. Will you take the one to the right, turn to 171, or to the left, turn to 267? Okay, we're going to go to the left and turn to 267. Now the slope turns into steep steps. With your sword in one hand and your lantern in the other, arms outstretched for balance, you carefully clamber down the twisting steps until you reach a fair-sized chamber. Its walls are carved with intricate patterns which seem to detail legendary events from ancient history. There is also a small altar decorated with sunbeams and other symbols of the sun goddess. The room is littered with debris and dust, but apart from the odd spider weaving yet another cobweb, there is nothing of interest to you here. There are 2 exits from this room, a wide archway covered by a large rotting curtain, turn to 14, and a small metal-bound door which hangs half off its hinges to your right, turn to 246. Okay, we're going to go through the wide archway covered by a large rotting curtain and turn to 14. You carefully push the dust-hardened curtain out of the way with your sword, revealing a circular chamber with an exit on its far wall. Cut into the walls on either side are dozens of narrow shelves, each one occupied by a body. These catacombs are, or rather catacombs, whatever, I never know how to pronounce that word. These catacombs are very ancient, and many of the bodies have decomposed as skeletons, which look quite grisly in the flickering lantern light. Gingerly you poke one of the cadavers, but nothing untoward happens. Do you move on, turn to 297, or investigate further, turn to 351? We're going to move on, turn to 297. I don't feel like checking out dead bodies. 297. You step into the next chamber and find more of the same, rows and rows of bodies all neatly arranged in racks. Your nerves begin to ache with the effort of remaining calm as you carefully tiptoe through into the 3rd chamber. Here some upheaval has thrown rotting corpses and bare skeletons across the floor, where they lie in a grotesque tangle. Shuddering, you pick your way across the room, turn to 323. You reach the other side of the room, although every moment you expect a ghastly skeletal hand to clutch at you, an animated skull to bite at you. The next chamber is in even worse condition than the last one, with bones and rubble scattered everywhere. There are 3 exits, an arch to the left, turn to 125, another arch to the right, turn to 41, and a small tunnel that leads away directly ahead of where you came in, turn to 67. Okay, we're going to head through the small tunnel that leads away directly ahead of where you came in, and turn to 67. Here we are. Now the narrow tunnel seems to have been formed when part of the roof collapsed into a passage. Before you venture in, you poke it with your sword to check that it is safe. It seems so, though a few particles of dust are dislodged. You wriggle in. It doesn't lead very far. At the other end, it opens out into a room. You wriggle a little further. The floor beneath you crumbles, and you fall into the room. Turn to 19. You land with a bump a moment later, and your lantern goes out. You reach out for it and recoil. You touch something scaly that wriggled under your hand. Leaping back flat against the wall, you find your lantern again and hastily light it. Oh, Telak. Snakes, black viper-like snakes. Your mind races in panic as your horrified eyes scan the room. There is a large pile of rags and rubbish in the corner nearest you, and a passage leading off from the wall opposite to you. Will you try to reach the exit, turn to 179, or the rags, turn to 110? Okay, we're going to try and reach the rags, and turn to 110. Waving your sword wildly, you attempt to clear a path to the rags. Fight the snakes as one opponent. Tomb vipers, skill 7, stamina 6. Okay. Okay, we'll deal with the rest of the paragraph later. So, tomb vipers 7-6. Off we go. I put room vipers. Okay, 7-6. Yep. Okay, our skill is currently 12, so off we go. 12 plus 8. No, it's inverse, isn't it? Okay, what is it? 7. Yeah, 7 plus 8 is 15. I get 21. So 15 to 21. Okay. 7 plus 8 is 15. I get 19. So 15 to 19. Puts him down, or them down to 2. 7 plus 3 is 10. I get 19. So 10 to 19. There we go. Okay, that's the end of the Tomb Vipers. Yeah, there's enough encounter boxes left over. Okay, so let's remove any buzzing, should there be any. A bit paranoid about that. Let's carry on. Okay, if you defeat them, you manage to get to the pile of rags and clear them of their slithering inhabitants. You grab a large handful of rags, set fire to them, and throw them towards the doorway to create a pathway. You grab a second handful and feel something long and hard wrapped up in the cloth. Hastily tucking it under your arm, you cast more burning rags towards the door and then make a run for it. You leap the flames, reach the doorway, and fling yourself down the corridor, your heart going fit to burst. Turn to 106. Okay, you race down the passage, the fire's heat warming the back of your neck as clouds of smoke billow from the room. The passageway joins a wider tunnel, and you run down it, coughing and choking. You run into a large room and stop to catch your breath and examine your find. There are several table-like slabs of stone here, obviously used for some grisly purpose, for they all bear the dark brown splatters of ancient bloodstains. You pause by one and carefully unwrap the bundle, shaking it to make sure that no snakes are still hiding in its folds. Inside the bundle, wrapped up in oilcloth to keep it free from tarnish, is a magnificently decorated sword, engraved and bejewelled, but with something missing from the end of its hilt. What could this be but the arm of Telak? Add 2 luck points and note it down on your adventure sheet. Okay, so we have the arm of Telak. So let's make a note of that. So, arm of Telak. And we gain 2 luck points, so it's back up to 12. Let's carry on. You gaze at the wondrous weapon for a while before wrapping it up again and strapping it to your back for safety. Now you may leave this chamber by heading left, turn to 385, or going straight on, turn to 357. Okay, we're going to go straight ahead, or straight on, and turn to 357. Now the corridor goes only a short way, leading to a huge brass-bound door. You listen at the door and hear a sound like metal coins being rubbed together. You ready your sword, take a deep breath, and kick the door. There is a massive thump, but the door remains closed. From inside the room comes a crashing sound. You kick the door again and again, but nothing will budge it. Then, to your horror, the door is flung open with a resounding crash. There, in front of you, is a terrifying sight. Framed in the doorway stands a warrior king from lost ages past. He has been dead a long time, but something has resurrected him and set him to guard this ancient room. He carries a long javelin, poised ready to thrust at you, and on his head sits a jagged crown studded with emeralds. You must fight him. Warrior King, skill 10, stamina 11. If you defeat this ancient hero, turn to 259. Okay, so 10, 11, Warrior King. Let's do this. So, Warrior King, and he is skill 10, stamina 11. Okay, my skill is 12, so his is 10. Let's do this. So 10 plus 2 is 12. I get 19. So 12 to 19. Puts him down to 9. Okay, 10 plus 10 is 20. I get 15. So 20 to 15. Means he hurts me, so I'm down to 20. Okay, 10 plus 6 is 16. I get 18. So 16 to 18. Puts him down to 7. Okay, 10 plus 5 is 15. I get 21. So 15 to 21. Puts him down to 5. 10 plus 4 is 14. I get 20. So 14 to 20. Puts him down to 3. Okay, 10 plus 8 is 18. I get 19. So 18 to 19. Whoops. 19. Puts him down to 1. 10 plus 12 is 22. I get 17. So 22 to 17. Puts me down to 18. 10 plus 7 is 17. I get 16. So 17 to 16. That puts me down to 16. So 17 to 16. Should have used some luck on the last time on the last attack round I won. Never mind. Okay, 10 plus 8 is 18. I get 14. So 18 to 14. Again, should have used some luck on the last one. Never mind. Live and learn. 10 plus 9 is 19. I get 23. So 19 to 23. There we go. Down to 0. And that's the end of the Warrior King. Made a bit of a comeback at the end, didn't he? Okay, let's carry on. If you defeat this ancient hero, turn to 259. I did, so we turn it to 259. Okay, here we are. As it loses the evil spark that animated it, the ancient body crumples to the floor, shattering into fragments of brown dust. All that is left is a rusting suit of antique armour and a tarnished crown holding 2 emeralds. Do you prize out the gemstones, turn to 197, or would you rather leave and continue your exploration, turn to 310? Okay, we are going to prize out the gemstones and turn to 197. Now the emeralds flip out of the crown. Rather strangely, both have flat backs, but when you hold them up together you see why. They are 2 halves of the same huge stone. Congratulating yourself on the discovery, you secrete them. That does say secrete. I think it probably means you secret them in your rucksack, although I'm probably being very stupid there. Anyway, you secrete them in your rucksack, note them down on your adventure sheet and move on. Turn to 310. Okay, so we have 2 emeralds. Yep. And let's carry on. And move on. Turn to 310. If I have mispronounced a word, please feel free to correct me, honestly. Anyway, I'm not infallible. Anyway, 310. You push open the door at the far end of the room and find yourself looking down a flight of crumbling stairs. You carefully pick your way down, excuse me, and follow the passage that leads from them to an old and dusty room, again littered with small pieces of rubble from its cracked ceiling and walls. In a far corner, what appears to be a statue, or maybe a fountain, casts grotesque shadows in the lantern light. You may examine this, turn to 50, or leave by the dark passage which leads off opposite, turn to 271. Okay, we're going to leave by the dark passage which leads off opposite and turn to 271. Now the passage is buckled and twisted, leading away for a short distance before it forks to the left. Straight ahead, the passage narrows and a thin set of steps twists up. The left-hand passage is littered with fallen rocks, but levels off after only a few paces. Will you continue ahead, turn to 154, or fork left, turn to 353? Okay, we're going to fork left and turn to 353. The high vaulted corridor leads past murals depicting the many glorious deeds of Telak's sword-bearer to a set of wide steps, at the top of which are great double doors marked with many of Telak's symbols. Carefully, you listen at the doors, but hear nothing. With your sword ready in your hand, you push open one of the doors and step in. What a magnificent place! Columns stretch out into the shadows on both sides, the walls are lined with weapons and shields, and carved with murals depicting many great deeds. At their centre stands a magnificent altar to Telak, which bears a small plinth holding the largest ruby you've ever seen. Could this be the Eye of Telak? You glance warily around you, peering into the shadows. To one side of the altar there's a small door, obviously leading to the stairs up to where you must meet Lascar. Will you approach the altar, turn to 229, or leave by the small door, turn to 87? Okay, we're going to leave by the small door and turn to 87. We don't want that ruby. At least not at this point. Anyway, the door opens easily enough, leading to a narrow, rough-hewn passageway which slopes up for some distance. Eventually it ends in a small, smooth-walled chamber. Another leads off to your left, but you're more interested in the stairs, which spiral up to Lascar and freedom. Turn to 301. The staircase spirals on up, though thankfully its condition is not too bad. Eventually, after a taxing climb, you reach the top, where your way is barred by another small metal-bound door. You sneak through into a dingy anteroom. Through an archway, you can see into the temple. Lascar is standing, his back towards you, as if contemplating the small altar before him. Will you enter and join him, turn to 217, or wait a moment so as not to disturb him, turn to 140? Okay, we're going to wait a moment and not disturb him, so turn to 140. You hesitate a moment and your eyes widen as you see a large lizard man march briskly across to Lascar, talk for a moment, salute, and then march back out of your sight. It is a trap. Do you have the arm of Telak? Turn to 373, or not? Turn to 77. Okay, we do have the arm of Telak, so 373. You duck back into the shadows, fumbling for the sword. You are certain that a gemstone should fit into the hilt of the weapon. If you haven't found any gems on your travels, turn to 28. If you have found some, which will you try to fit into the hilt of the sword, hoping they will be the eyes of Telak? The diamond, turn to 371. The emerald, turn to 228. The jet, turn to 173. Or the ruby, turn to 293. Okay, we are going to try the emeralds because that's what we're going to do. 228. Okay. Now the 2 gems slot into the hilt perfectly, and power courses through your veins. The emerald eyes of Telak gleam with holy energy. Waving the sword above your head, you cry, "Telak, be with me," and leap for Lascar. Turn to 400. The blade cuts deep into the old man, slicing cleanly as the power guides your arm. The traitor dies, gurgling and choking. You step astride his body, the look in your eyes daring anyone to challenge you. The evil lizard men hesitate, unsure of just how much power you now have. You raise your sword aloft, and in confirmation of your powers, the air begins to shimmer. Coalescing from nothing, 1,000 warriors materialize around you, golden weapons at the ready. The lizard men murmur in terror as the ancient soldiers begin to slice through their ranks. You turn away in disgust, but the sickening slaughter is soon over. With you at their head, the warriors step back into rank. You march away into the west towards Vimorna, the power of your master, Telak's sword-bearer, blazing through every atom of your body. With a force like this, charging into battle with the sun behind you, you will free Vimorna from the clutches of evil and chaos. And that's the end. Brilliant, so that's the end of the book. So I was right, I did manage to complete it in part 3. Not a long book this, but not a long book this, but mildly challenging. So thanks for watching. That was a nice end, nice happy end. And the next book will be, if I do do a book next, which I probably won't do, but the next book I do, when I do a book, will be Slaves of the Abyss. I'm hoping to do another Master System game, King's Quest, Quest for the Crown, which is a Master System port of the Sierra Classic, which I do enjoy. So I'll do that next. That should only take me one video. It's quite easy when you know what you're doing, which I do. So I hope to do that video next. King's Quest, Quest for the Crown on the Sega Master System. After I do that, that's when I'll probably do Slaves of the Abyss. So thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.